Hey, Julian, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. I'm excited about this one because we've been talking off camera about this thing we're going to talk about today. I'll build a bit of anticipation up for people, and I think it's one of the things that are missed in some respects, but it's one of the most vital aspects, and that's company culture. So, share with us about what you do as a company, how you interact with your team members, and share with us how we can do it better.
Okay. Um, I think our first question is, what is our company culture? And I can't put
Yeah.
a definitive answer to that. I think I can
Okay.
state you an ethos, and that's really that
Yeah.
sort of people and place matter, uh, but we're all interdependent on each other at the same time too. So
Okay.
whether that's within our actual company, uh, my work colleagues all together, we're all interdependent, and we've all got different skill sets that
Okay.
all add up to actually give what we're doing, or whether
Yeah.
that's within the greater project team. Again, the different skill sets all coming together to actually make hopefully the greater good,
Yeah.
and with that, each of those people and inputs matter.
So give me some of the headlines, because I know we've mentioned in the past on previous podcasts about the people and the team
Yeah,
and your environmental responsibility and the benefit for all and and I suppose I think it's to have to highlight the do no harm. I think is a little bit crazy, but it's so important, isn't it?
you've
So
got to be an ethical business, and you've got to mitigate any harm that you're doing,
yeah,
and some of that comes through from localization,
okay,
the uh, sort of mitigating all the sort of carbon and things like that from bringing stuff from far and wide.
right, okay,
Also, it's just being adhering to legal and moral standards, and we
okay.
shouldn't have to actually say that, as you say.
No, you're right. We
That
shouldn't,
shouldn't have
should
to
we?
be. But it's um, business isn't always moral. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
And I'd like to think that we are. Sort of really, what like to see is that we're an inclusive company.
okay.
It's that
Tell me about
it
that.
doesn't. Well, we've got diversity. Everyone's equitable, and they're inclusive.
Okay.
So uh, it's your skill sets that and your product, and
Yep.
we can do that through different ways. Whether that's uh, a diversity of working
Yeah.
methods, um, home working,
Yeah.
office working,
Yeah.
a split of the two. Whether that's through open communication and collaboration. Like, I always think it's good to be in the office because you get more, how do you say it, sort of bounce around the office
Yeah.
and feedback in
Yep.
communication. But others will work at home in the same manner,
Yeah.
uh, and work. But it's a matter of belonging and that everyone's got mutual respect.
Yeah.
That's that's what I would look, and with that being people centric. So really, what I'm looking for is professional growth.
Okay.
I had it in my training
Yeah.
a few years ago, and with that, if I say it quickly.
I'm glad you said that, not me.
But I was looking, I did my RSCS. I then did my growth, if you like, into
Yeah.
project management, and that's then helped sort of set what we do overall in what we do, and subsequently we've got health and safety, and now that those bits are sort of bolt-ons that have come through. But it's professional growth of me as a person, of
Yeah.
my team as a whole group, and how we can actually bring those people together.
I know you mentioned on one of the previous podcasts that we were on, where you talked about people who, almost manage their work around the family. You've got a lady who was working for you at the time. I don't know if she still is around, sort of school holidays and things like that, and
Yeah,
giving her the flexibility.
yeah, yeah. Lisa's still around. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of in terms of that, yes, we've got different people provide different things. It it it. I get the best out of people when, and therefore the best for the client and the projects when we're adaptable, when we are flexible, and we can work around that. So I've got staff that primarily work at home. I've
Yeah.
got staff that work probably 2 days a week in reality.
Yeah.
Well, 3 days a week. And with that, it's that flexible input or
Yeah.
the flexible hours. I went to a place this morning where they work 7 in the morning till 5 at night,
Yeah.
but with that, they only do 4 days a week.
Mm.
That I'm not sure that would necessarily work for us, but we give you that flexibility that it's 9 till 5 or 9 till 3 actually
Yeah.
through shorter days. I think it's what the person contributes, and I'm with my team. I really appreciate what they can give and what they
Yeah.
do, bringing in their skill sets and stuff that I can't do or
Yeah.
don't do very well.
Yeah. Because
I've got an
we
understanding
can't
of, but
do everything, can we?
yeah,
We need to have people in the business who can complement us. And also, let's be fair, I look at some of the stuff, I've always said that I'm not a great writer. I like to write. You stick me in front of a camera and I'll talk and I can share valuable insights. Someone we just brought on in our business yesterday is a copywriter to pick up the slack from I call it the 80-20. Do 80% of what you're really good at and then get better at 20% of something. But I've brought that person on to help us. And it goes hand in hand with what you've just said about your team. There's things that you might be a 10 at 5 things and you might be a 4 at 2 or 3 things. Well, you want someone to help you get the other 6 points,
mm.
and that's what the
I think
complementary
we're
piece
all
is.
very much interdependent.
Yeah.
And it's bringing out the positive influence of others into what we do
Yeah.
that 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 makes that happen, and that's within the company, within that physical space. But also when we're actually working out there in doing projects, I think it's about understanding the skill sets of of the other colleagues that we work with and companies that we work with, and actually sitting with them, and we can bounce between each other. So where we work regularly with, say, 8 or 10 different designers or 8 or 10 different contractors, there is a level of understanding between us, but also there's a level of interdependence that they know that we're better at this for them,
Right.
and I know their strengths and weaknesses, and
Yeah.
where we can help them grow through those weaknesses to become stronger, and
Yeah.
where we can bounce with them.
So how can people review their own culture? What's the first step that people should be taking? Because it's really important.
Well, I think that's really a thing of sort of continuous improvement
Okay.
in what you're saying there. So
Yeah.
I think they should solicit feedback,
Yeah.
and whether that's listening, just small conversations, or whether
Yeah.
there's an actual intention to go and actually ask questions and sit someone down and say, "Give me that feedback."
Okay.
Um, I think it's a matter of empowerment, of allowing your staff to go out and do what they can do and express themselves.
Yeah.
And with that, you're continually sort of monitoring that feedback that then comes back with that.
Gotcha. It's trust and growth, isn't it? It's trust them to
Yeah,
do what they do.
trust is one of the words that I like to use. You'll
Yeah.
see it on our email signatures,
Yeah.
and and it's about we are trusted. And
Yeah.
we can demonstrate that through our client base. A vast proportion of our work is regular repeat.
Yeah.
Might not be the same content every time, but it's regular repeat clients,
Okay.
um, and they still come back. Some of these clients I might not work with for 10 years at a time, but
Yeah.
they come back because that's the next time that they need our services.
Gotcha.
Others we might be working with continuously, and that's a level of trust. But
Yeah.
that's trust that they show in us through the trust that we show in our staff and our work people.
So as we go into a new year and people are taking a look at their business and and maybe looking at their company culture, saying, "So you know what, it's something we need to review, or it's something we need to at least get up to date with." What's your advice?
Uh, well, I think you've got to be transparent
Yeah.
in what you do, and transparency is a word that means different things to different people. But for me,
Mm.
it's about committing a sort of culture of communication of your company values, of your goals, of your performance, openly, not just internally, but externally with your
Okay.
clients and colleagues that you work with regularly. And then
Yeah.
from that, I think that then helps build that culture.
Yeah.
And,
So you go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no. Sometimes it's different to sort of verbalize
Yeah.
what that culture looks like. Yeah, it's coming back to that. Do not harm. Do no harm.
Yeah.
It's that we actually all work together for everyone's benefit.
Yeah.
And we're looking for a sort of sustainable framework that we can prioritize well-being.
I was literally about to come back to that because I know you're doing a lot of um, sustainable practices outside in of the business, with the planting of trees and things like that, and working with partners who do something like that. I was like, how can we bring that level of sustainability into the business?
Yeah. Um, it, it's where we started. It's that ethical conduct
Yeah,
and how that grows.
yeah,
And from that, you're looking at your local community, your wider community, the environment generally,
yeah.
and that's all built through that culture.
And I suppose really there you're encouraging those eco-friendly behaviors within the company and the employees, and then they'll take that outside with them, won't they?
I get comments from various people I work with. I sort of say, I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, and it'll be a passing sentence, and they say, that's good, and then they say, can you send me the details? And that's probably
Yeah,
the best way that I can influence.
the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's the plan for 2024 and beyond with regards to the company culture? Inside and outside, what does it feel like?
I think if you look at our workplace as a whole,
Mm,
and the economy as a whole at the moment, the economy's in a current depression in where we are, and you can dress it in different words or whatever way you like. 80% of our work historically has always been year on year on year hospitality.
yeah.
I have great solidarity with the people that we will work with in that hospitality industry because it's not easy for them at the moment.
It's tough.
Uh,
Let's be
uh,
straight. It's really
uh,
tough.
and with that, there's various inputs that are put on them that mean that they're not doing the level of works that we would have been doing in years gone by.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at as a shift as a direct thing at the moment, we're probably looking at what we do in that other 20% of our workload normally, and that
Yeah.
rotates year on year. So we're looking that we're working a lot more with the local authorities and councils at the moment,
Okay.
who some of which we've worked with for years, others we're working with more recently. A lot of that's by introduction, and they buy into and they like what we've actually been doing and the expressions that they get with others. So what we're
Yeah.
probably looking for is a slightly changing framework and dynamic of where our work will be in the next
Okay.
year or so. I think hospitality will still be our dominant sector,
Yeah.
very much so. But what we're seeing is we're doing more community sort of type work. So working with the councils, it might be on an infrastructure project, it might
Yep.
be on a office type project for them. It might be in local housing
Gotcha.
and social stuff there. It um, it also, there's a shift into we've been doing residential property type work
Okay.
for a while now. Um, and with that, it's a case of targeting how we can actually really benefit that. So, something we did a few years ago was a barn project out near Falkin,
Okay.
and with that, we were able to apply our culture of management and quantity surveying into that project, into what was a relatively small sector of work for us. I think that sector is growing, so that will see a change within our company culture
Yeah.
in terms of that work sector that we're working on.
And you've just highlighted there that because of the culture that you have within the company, it's so diverse from your gaucho to you know a one-off residential piece, or to work with the local council, because you've got this culture which is so diverse and sustainable.
Yeah, different speeds.
Yeah.
Hospitality is very fast fit. It's very internal. And,
Yep.
and that sort of side of thing. Some of this stuff that we're doing out with the councils and residentials, 2-3 years work possibly overall,
Right.
from start to finish. So there's different paces and different speeds of work.
Yeah.
There's probably different characteristics in some respects of what we're doing, but ultimately it's the same input, if you like, from ourselves in terms of what we want to bring.
Gotcha. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and say, look, you know what, I watched the podcast about company culture and, you know, and how you're doing things, how can they get hold of you?
I'm good by email.
Yeah.
I like people on email or ring. Our email, our contact details will be on the bottom of this podcast.
Yeah.
By all means, please pick up the phone, have a conversation. I'm open. I'm good. I'm transparent. I'll tell you if it's not for us. I'll tell you if it is for us. I'll be crawling all over you.
So I know where to come for my house build.
You've got my phone number.
Absolutely, on speed dial. Julian, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the podcast this week.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Speak to you soon.
See you soon.